Well, good morning, all, and welcome to this edition of Balance in Life. I'm Crystal Tyler-MacKey, happy to welcome you on behalf of Virginia Cooperative Extension, our Human Development Program team, and our partners in this webinar series, North Carolina Cooperative Extension. Bethany, Herman, and I are so happy to host one of our key partners in this space, the one who helped forge this partnership and get things going, Dr. Kimberly Allen. We've been talking offline a lot about feeling burned out. We've been at some of this work in this pandemic space for a long time, and some of us, have been going pretty strong and are now suddenly starting to feel some of the warning signs around burnout. And so it's appropriate at this point to come in and have a conversation about what it is that looks like, what it might feel like, and what can we do about it in our lives. We might be feeling it in the home space, the workspace, or a combination of both. And so as we lean into the conversation, as always, we invite you to share your thoughts, your comments, your questions in the chat. We'll be happy to engage you in that way. But I invite you to sit back, engage, receive whatever it is you need. We hope that you'll take some nuggets away from this session. So having said that, I'm going to quickly turn things over to Dr. Kim Allen. Welcome, Kim.
Hello, thank you so much, Crystal. It's a pleasure to be back again as a speaker. I do pop in on occasion as a participant as well. And it's nice to see everybody. So thanks for having me. Crystal and I and Herman were just talking about at the beginning of the pandemics, we were exhausted because we had worked. But it's different than feeling a bit of a burnout. We're kind of feeling a little bit more than tired. And when we think about what is burnout, what does that really mean? It's just sort of a mental, physical, emotional exhaustion after a lot of stress. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we hadn't already endured a lot of stress, but now it's just a bit of a nuanced difference. But it is a difference. So I'm curious, those of you who are open to sharing, what does burnout feel like or look like in you? And are you possibly experiencing some burnout now that we're, deep into year 2 of a COVID pandemic and racial pandemics, and what does that even look like in feelings or in actions? Any thoughts? Like for us, it's really about just being, for me, it's a feeling of dread, that I've never had. I've never felt burned. Oh, here we go. Just no motivation, inability to focus, a lack of energy, brain fog. Oh my goodness, we're speaking the same language. That's exactly what's happening. I think to not only us, but to many others we're starting to see burnout as this sort of next phase of this pandemic. I know there are many ways to mitigate burnout. So I'm not here to say this is the one and only way, because we've got to get through this, right? Like we will get through this. We'll find the resilience and we'll push through, and hopefully we'll stop having these feelings of feeling lost and easy mistakes and things that we wouldn't have maybe made a mistake. So the thing I'm going to focus on today is really about using our strengths. And I'll talk more about what that looks like in a second, because most of everything I'm going to talk about today is research done by the Gallup Corporation. Now, you guys might have heard of Clifton strengths. If you have, that's a part of the Gallup organization. The Gallup organization has done assessments for decades and have done the Clifton Strengths Assessment on millions and millions and millions of people. And they do some research around that, as well as contemporary research. Like they do a lot of survey work. And so, just this year, they're looking at burnout. This is a big topic in human resources. This is a big topic in family life. And so what they're saying, and Gallup doesn't do so much at the family level, they work more at the industry level or the organization level. They're like 48% of the Americans' population is searching for or watching for new opportunities. This is unprecedented. The US has reached a record high quit rate and a record high number of unfilled positions. 74% of employees are saying that they are feeling burnout. So all these things you guys are saying you're feeling, you're not alone. Many of us are feeling this, and in particular at work, but also at home, we're starting to feel that, that there's some, there's this, how are you today? You seem a little bit stressed. I don't want to talk about it. And then you just sort of talk about it. It just comes out, right? And same with the home life. We know that at home, we're all feeling a little stressed. These poor babies get it, right? Like, sometimes I'm just like, yes, I feel like they feel, right? But what Gallup also shows is that nearly burnout-free employees, I think that's a funny little term they use, but nearly burnout-free employees have a few things in common. They feel really engaged, they have high well-being, and they work in a culture that celebrates each other's strengths. They work in a culture that celebrates each person's strengths. I would go on to say people who have very high well-being and maybe don't feel burnout, maybe they live in a culture that also celebrates a person's strengths. So, it's not to say that there aren't negative emotions and that negative emotions aren't valid, but even when we're feeling negative emotions, if we can start to focus on our strengths, that can help us lead to success and maybe get through burnout. So, again, kind of from the Gallup organization, and I am a certified Gallup coach. So a lot of my training this year has been with the Gallup organization. So you might hear me saying that more than maybe I would, because I've just been through the training and I'm all excited about it. But so the key to success is to understand and apply our talents and strengths. And why would we do that? Well, people who use their strengths are 6 times more likely to be engaged. And we know that engaged people are less likely to be burned out. They're 6 times more likely to do what they do best every day, and they have an excellent quality of life. So there's just some stats and some research here about how it impacts employees. And again, Gallup is an organization that focuses on organizations. But from what I know from family science, I'm a family scientist, is that it's true. If we're focusing on the positives, like positive discipline, positive interactions, it doesn't mean that we don't get mad, and it doesn't mean that we don't get tired. It just means our approach to interacting with humans is really about focusing on strengths. So what are your strengths? When I think about what are your talents, what are you good at, you can start texting those if you want, but I have another activity. So if you want to, I guess we don't really have a way to see each other raising hands. So instead of raising your hands, you can say yes in the text chat if this fits you, okay? So natural talents might be raise your hand if you, or type yes if you talk to people in elevators or airplanes or stores or wherever you go. Do you talk to people? Oh, I'm seeing some yeses there. I have some company in the room. I learned all about the birthday when I was shopping at BJ's a couple days ago. I learned all about the birthday that was happening and what colors and what sizes the birthday girl was gonna get. So yeah, that's me. All right, raise your hand if you need to get the top score in your class, right? Yes, if it is all about doing well, achievement, making sure you're at the top. I know Crystal's probably raising her hand on this one. Yeah, so that's another natural talent that I'm seeing some yeps. Okay, write a yes if you typically write down a list of things that you need to do and you stick to it. Nope, Bethany. I'm seeing some yeses. Okay, so this talent is some of you. How about those of you when you're at a party, you're like, oh, give me one person I know. Please don't make me talk to strangers. Who's the one person I can find that one person, and then I don't have to be around all these people I don't know. Okay, there's some of you in the room. That's a talent. That probably means that you're better at those one-on-one deeper relationships than those surface level multi-relationships. So, okay. And then what about this one? You figure out the plot of the movie before the rest of us. How many of you have that sort of brain power that you can see those patterns and you know what's up? Some of you in the room, absolutely. And then, oh, this one might be, are you accused of asking too many questions? I want to know more. I'm curious. What else is, remember this one? Mom, I have a question. Mom, I have a question. Mom, and you just like get through the question phase. All right. And then the last, oh no, I have two more. How many of you have a beautifully organized closet, or all of your things have a place and there's organization is your talent? Anyone? Oh, not as many of us. There's a few yeses. This is not, I wouldn't say this is one of mine. Okay, and then this one. How many of you just want to let the whole world know you're there? Maybe you push every elevator button, or you just are the center of attention. Anyone? Well, I do this activity because it's just important to know that regardless of who we are, everyone has a talent. We all have things we're good at. Maybe it's the same as the people in our family or the people on our team. Maybe it's different, but that talent, the things we're just naturally good at, it's maybe a pattern of thinking, feeling, or behavior that we just naturally do. So knowing that we have these natural talents, that's sort of the idea of the Clifton assessment. So because I'm a coach, we do quite a bit of assessments and coaching. In fact, North Carolina State University has made it so that every incoming freshman has access to the Clifton assessment, because we want to become a strengths-based organization ourselves. So all of our students get access to this assessment, and then all of the teachers can then start using a common dialogue about what are your strengths? How can you apply your strengths? And start moving that mindset towards what's the potential? How do we make sure that we're using the things that we're good at? And that's because it's similar to our fingerprint. There's a sequence of themes that's unique to each of us. And the chance of us having this exact same talents as somebody else are pretty, like, I think we all should be buying the lottery. I think we'll have a better chance of getting the $500-600 million lottery this year than finding someone with our exact talents. And this is just an example of, so I'm an achiever. That's one of my top 10. You can see here, I put my screen on so you can see these are my strengths. I'm not trying to sell you all this strength, but I just wanted to let you know this is what I'm basing some of this science off of. So think, if you have access, I want you to get out a pencil or a pen and a notepad and take your non-dominant hand. So for me, that's my left hand, and write your name. And then take your dominant hand and write your name. Which one was easier? I think we all know which one was easier. Yeah, so there's really nothing wrong with being aware of our weaknesses. We probably can't write our name quite as well with our left hand. So we're not going to use our left hand for writing unless we're left-handed, and then, vice versa. So there's nothing wrong with being aware of our weaknesses and managing those. But unlike the times past where we're like, okay, these are the things you need to improve on, this movement towards strengths really focuses on kind of ignoring the less positive talents and not making yourself right with your left hand, but rather focusing on the strengths. So if right hand is what you do well, then you should write with your right hand and practice, and you'll get even better. And one day you'll write in cursive, and then one day you'll learn to type and it won't even matter how you write. I rarely write anywhere. I do most of my things typing. We just gain more when we build on our own talents. We just do better when we focus on our strengths. Does anyone kind of agree with that? If you were to focus on your strengths, it feels better. You're probably more motivated. It's just generous. It's generally just a better focus. It's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of thinking to not be like, okay, let's look at what needs improvement and let's focus on that. Instead of saying, okay, what are you doing well? And let's focus on that. I think, sometime in the past year, I did another session, and I probably talked about the WWW, what went well. It's sort of the same concept. If we go to the dinner table and we say, what went well today, and we're all discussing the positives of our day, it sort of creates a mood where people are able to celebrate their successes. Now, there's also a time and place to talk about what didn't go well, and you have to get through those and you learn to move forward and you build resiliency skills. So again, it's not the only way to be, but it is a part of the way to be to get through some of these feelings of burnout. If we're really feeling discouraged, I don't know about you, I have what I call a feel-good folder. And if I'm really feeling down, I just pull out my feel-good folder and I find the love letters from my children and the thank you notes from my students and the kudos from my colleagues. And I'm just reminding myself, oh, there is good. So it's that idea of sort of celebrating our talents. So talents and strengths are a little bit different. So talents are those things we all wrote, yes. Yes, my closet is organized. Yes, I seek a lot of attention. So talents are naturally happening, but strengths are what happens when we put practice in, when we are able to utilize that talent and nurture it and build on it. So I've always had the gift of gab. I've always been able to talk to strangers. Winning others over is one of my strengths. And it's very easy for me to go into a room and talk to people, whether it's, children in my, in my children's school or my colleagues, or, I'm comfortable. That's something that I was always born with. However, over time, I've been able to practice that, and I've been able to learn more about the art of persuasion and utilizing that comfort I was born with to build it and make it into a strength so that I can work on team building with my team at work, or or even my children, to sort of build those relationships with them. There's so much happening in the chat. I'm not able to follow it. So thank you to Bethany and Crystal for watching all that. And if you guys see something I need to see, by all means, just let me know and I will be happy to address it. So this idea then is we start with a talent and we finish with a strength. So we're born with these natural talents. We turn them into strengths as we practice and we hone and we put energy and attention into those strengths. So we invest in our talents through practice. So another way to think about that is our talent times our investment. So the more time we practice, the stronger we are. So sometimes I do a slide where I show an athlete. Let's see if you guys can guess. He says, I'm a 6'4" man, but I can't dribble a basketball and I can't make a shot. So I never even tried with basketball. But I ended up being really comfortable in the water. And so I practiced every day in the water until eventually, I became an excellent swimmer. Any guesses on who I'm talking about? Oh, you guys got it right away. Yes. Michael Phelps. So Michael Phelps, who we all know is now a big advocate on mental health and talk therapy and strengths, he talks about how, being so tall, people were pushing him in a certain direction. And he's like, that wasn't my talent. My talent was swimming. I invested in swimming, and that ended up being one of my strengths. Okay, so again, back to Gallup, the 5 guiding principles behind using the strengths is this idea that we need to approach talents as neutral. Like, for example, if you look at the C-level professionals in almost any organization, one of the top themes or talents is going to be achiever. Remember at the 34, I said, look, I have achiever, and that's one of mine. Achievers are people who just naturally love to get things done, be productive. Well, themes are neutral, but because achiever is one of mine, and it's not one of either, neither of my children have achiever in their top half. What do you think that happens? What do you think that creates at my house? If I'm an achiever and I like productivity and I think people should be busy doing important things, and my children are like high in creative and high on empathy, there's a little stress, there's a little tension. I bet you pluck your kids' nerves. Exactly. So themes are neutral. And as a parent, I was able to really apply some of these concepts to remember that, just because it's my top natural theme, it's not better. It's not better that my kids have different talents. I just needed to be reminded of that. So I can't label my kids as lazy. Maybe said that before, but I'm so sorry. And I feel bad about it. For real, I feel bad. They're just not achievers. They do other things very, very well. They can relax and do self-care so much better than I can. That's I don't think self-care is technically a talent as one of the 34s, but it's probably in one of those. I would probably not have that in my top half. So, but we lead with the positive intent. So we're looking at what's the best in others. And then differences are a positive advantage. So if I have achiever, but my children are able to do the self-care, what happens if we collaborate? We're going to get something done, and then we're probably going to be able to celebrate that with some relaxation and some downtime. And wow, that might actually be a better balance than go all the time, achieve, right? So putting it all together, differences are a positive advantage. And then bottom line, I think every session for the balancing series has really been that we need each other. We absolutely need each other. It's about relations, it's about connections. So we sort of pull all these strengths. We don't ignore the negatives. We recognize that there's difficulties, but sort of our worldview, if you will, might be to try to look at some of the strengths along the way. Okay, so now my question, I'm going to watch the text chat now. How can you build a culture that celebrates each person's strengths? So this can be something you're doing at home or at work. So let's see, let the chats start coming in. How can you build a culture that celebrates each person's strengths? Listening, acknowledging your own biases, absolutely. Seek the best talents within them. Absolutely, Louise, we're looking at when we're in a partnership or a family or a coworker, if we know their strengths, we can really start to play into those. Absolutely. Open communication, positive reinforcement, recognizing and encouraging it. Absolutely. Yes. So even things like try to think of a compliment, try to identify what's going well or what you see as a positive. Yeah. Or showing gratitude. That's another one, like just being thankful and letting people know you're thankful. Ask yourself how this program or project can be improved using everyone's input. So giving everyone a voice, encouraging and I know some of you I'm not getting everyone y'all are being amazingly productive. Y'all must be, there must be some achievers in the room. Help others recognize and use their talents. Exactly. Yeah, point out the ways people contribute, willingness to learn from others and not hold your ideas so dearly. So being able to share that a little bit. Chill out when my achiever strength can add to internal tension. Yeah, like noticing within your own self, like maybe this is my body telling me I need to relax. Maybe I need to, listen to that. Exactly. Outstanding. You guys really gave some great input. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm not trying to sell Clifton's assessment, but since I did talk about it, here's what it is and what it costs. I'm not trying to say you should get the assessment, but if you want it, that's the information. There's also on the website a wonderful, and I can put these in the text chat when I stop sharing in just a second. There's the science of Clifton strengths. They have sort of some of the science they do. And then there's a YouTube channel and a podcast where if you want to get to know more about Gallup strengths, you can. So now I'm ready for any questions that you all may have. And I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Bethany, and I'll watch chat. And if anything comes up, I'm happy to, and I'm going to pull the links here real quick too.
Kim, I have a question as Bethany starts coming through the chat to lift some things up too. One of the things that really jumped out to me was in the home space. I feel like I've been, pretty well adapted and really looked in the workspace to build on other people's strengths. But you really touched on something, because you called me out. I said no comment when you asked about the achiever, and then you called me out. I don't think that's a surprise.
Sorry about that.
I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. but I do, as you mentioned, I do grapple sometimes with an internal stressor when my family members are chilling and I'm zipping around doing a million things and they just want to relax. And actually they achieve in their own right. I mean, and I have one child who is very intense and very high standards for themselves with school and with everything that they do. They're all at, it's got to be a 100. Like I sometimes even worry that they put so much pressure on themselves, but they work incredibly hard at school. But then when they're home, they just want to totally take that same intensity to relaxing. And it sometimes irritates me.
And you're like, what's achieved?
Get up. Can you clean this closet? Can you do this? Can you do? And so my question is then how do you navigate the balance there, to create that same space, at home? How do you navigate that as a parent?
As a parent, well, I feel like we're leading parallel lives, you and me. And I'm gonna say I haven't mastered it yet. So please take any advice with a grain of salt. And I will say that sometimes people might find the balance a little easier, but one of the sort of best practices in family science would be maybe to have a family meeting or to have a family conversation and kind of let everyone air their goals or their desires, what they want it to look like. And so that maybe coming to an agreement. I don't know, have you ever tried something like maybe a conversation around it? That was my first thought. What do you think?
Yeah, so interestingly, so we do have these conversations every so often and come to realize, that this particular child of mine and my spouse are the same in that when the work day or school day are done, they need some time to just decompress. And they like to decompress solo. Now, my spouse will decompress with me if I'm there, because he, very much likes to be around people, but they need some complete down, cut off everything and just decompress. And so yesterday it took a little bit before we could get to that relaxation time, and it was starting to feel stressful, like nothing intentionally happened, nothing out loud happened, but you could sense it. And so I said, well, go have your chill time. We actually call it Micah time. Have your Micah time.
You have already kind
And
of developed a great system. I
well,
love
I
it.
appreciate that. So I let that go. I pushed down my own achiever, like, but I really need you. They took the trash out. That was a big deal. I really wanted some more chores done, but I let it go. And I was standing there doing some other things. And this kiddo of mine shows up about 45 minutes later and said, hey, mom. And I was like, yeah. And he just gave me a hug. And this is not a touchy-feely kid. Just gave me a hug. Because out of nowhere, I'm like, yes. So I really want to do more of that and keep my mouth shut, but also not feel the internal tension of me so hard trying to push it down. So
Yeah.
So yes, talking about it is important.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That.
And so many great resources. And I will say, those of you who are at NC State, I'm seeing lots of familiar. I do think staff get access to those links as well. And I can double check on that, but I think that it's students and in CALS, we're really focusing on it as well. So just wanted to answer that question.
Yeah, Bethany, what are you seeing out there?
I don't see any specific questions. It's just a lot of kudos for this presentation and how much people enjoyed it, needed it, could relate. And, to me, it's just a good reminder that we all have our different things to bring to the table, and we just have to all enjoy those pieces about each other. And listening to Crystal, she is equally awesome in the way she parents, but just totally different than me, totally different than Kim, and that all of that is okay. Yeah. And then she's different from some of the personalities within her family, but they all recognize. And, so if we can all kind of carry that into our workspace too, because sometimes that's really challenging when you're trying to get a project done together or collaborate and you've got totally different personalities or totally different strengths. But thank you, Ken. This has been really, really good. I don't see any more questions in here, just lots and lots of thank yous and how good this has been.
Hey, this is like I'm already feeling better and less burned out. I really am. The opportunity and the great comments. Thanks for everyone for participating.
I think you're giving permission to say, like, okay, like Crystal is realizing like this is me, and not to apologize about it, just to what little changes might I be able to make to not feel so internally stressed about it. This is who I am. And yeah, so once you can name it or label it or recognize it, that makes me feel better too. Yeah. Sorry, Herman, I think I stepped on you there.
Oh, no problem at all. Well, I invited a lot of folks in my whole First Friday's listserv in to join in with us this morning because I thought this would be good for First Friday's topic as well, and invite them in. What would you say to extension agents, especially new people that come in and get burnout really quickly because they feel like they have to do 10 million things?
Right.
What's like one little thing that you could pass on to them, one little nugget you could give them to inspire them to, hang in there and help them with the burnout?
Well, gosh, I have like three things that popped right into my head. And the first one is to, as hard as it is, try to find a way to build some boundaries, because I feel like extension agents are asked to do more things than it's really natural for a human to do. So find some boundaries, maybe we're working in the evening, so let's find some time during the day. Like, we have to have some balance. I also think about just the importance of deep breathing. I know I've talked about that 100 times in the past, but the deeper our breaths go, the more we're releasing the cortisol, and like the bad hormones are exiting, good hormones are able to flood in. So deep breathing if you get really a moment of stress, and then doing something where you're documenting those good moments so you can go back and you remind yourself of those good things that happen. So for me, it's a feel-good folder. For many, it could be a journal, it could be notes on the wall. Find a way to document those successes and remind yourself of that when things are feeling a little burnouty.
All right. Thank you.
Right, thank you, everyone.
Kim, thank you. Herman, that was such an excellent question. I think a lot of us are in that same space. That certainly agents have that role, but appreciate you lifting that question up. So as it centers us back on the conversation, ways to avoid burnout at work and home, as Kim mentioned at the beginning, lots of different ways and strategies. This is one. So if we think about how we build on the strengths that we have and acknowledge, appreciate, and support the strengths of those that are around us in our personal lives and in our work lives, it's one strategy for helping us to negate the impact of burnout in our lives. So hope that you'll take one nugget or two from the session on today, and that it will be something that you can apply into your personal and your work lives. Thank you, Dr. Kim Allen, for being on with us. Thank you, Herman and Bethany, and thanks to all of you for being here. I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great week, and we'll see you next time. Take care all. Bye.